Welcome to this week's tutorial on how to use Articulate Storyline. We're glad you're back and ready to keep building your storyline skills. In our last video, we wrapped up our series on creating, using, and troubleshooting triggers. If you missed that video or want to review anything we covered, you'll find a link to it along with the full Trigger Series playlist in this video's description. In today's video, we're shifting our focus to Slide Masters and Feedback Masters. Two powerful tools that keep your lessons looking sharp, consistent, and easy to update. They also help reduce your project's overall file size when it's time to publish. Let's take a look at how they work and how you can start putting them to use right away. Before we start walking through how to use Slide Masters and Feedback Masters, we need to talk about what they actually are and why they are important. Slide Masters and Feedback Masters are slides and layers that come with a predefined layout. As the developer, you can place elements on these masters: branding, logos, background images, placeholders, and other recurring design components, so they automatically appear on every slide that uses that layout. From an instructional design standpoint, they play a huge role in how the learner experiences your course. A consistent layout keeps the learner focused on the content. But the moment your spacing shifts, your fonts change, or elements jump around from slide to slide, the learner's attention goes into spot the difference mode instead of absorbing the material. The more distractions you introduce, the less effective the learning becomes. Slide Masters and Feedback Masters help prevent that drift and ensure every slide feels intentional, polished, and aligned to your design strategy. So, how do Slide Masters and Feedback Masters support the learner and at the same time save you from an absolutely soul-sucking workflow? Consistency is the obvious win. When every slide shares the same structure, the learner always knows where things are. But that consistency also keeps you from reinventing the layout every single time. A master gives you a framework: the fonts, the spacing, the image placements, so you're not wrestling with alignment and guessing where things should go. And those boundaries actually make your design better. When you're working within a defined space, you can't cram in a Shakespearean monologue. You have to distill your message into something tighter, cleaner. More haiku than Hamlet. That keeps the learner focused and boosts the chances of real retention. But here's where masters really save your sanity: the repetitive workflow. Inserting a logo or background image once is no big deal, maybe 2 minutes, tops. But do that same 2-minute task on 40 slides, and suddenly you've spent an hour and a half resizing, nudging, aligning, and muttering to yourself like a medieval monk hand-copying manuscripts. And that's just one object. Multiply that by multiple recurring elements: headers, footers, icons, navigation cues, and the time drain can easily balloon into several hours of mind-numbing, creativity-crushing, budget-eating busywork. Slide Masters eliminate all of that. Insert the logo once, insert the footer once, set the background once. Every slide that uses that layout inherits those elements automatically. One step instead of 40. Then there's the editing problem, which gets ugly fast if you're not using masters. When your SME suddenly wants a different background or your organization updates its branding, which, let's be honest, always happens halfway through development, you're stuck hunting down every slide where that element appears. And because you're human, and because 40 nearly identical slides start blurring together, you're almost guaranteed to miss one, or 2, or 7. But if those visuals live on the Slide Master, you update them once, and every slide updates instantly and perfectly. Masters save time, money, and your last remaining shred of zen. Now that we understand why we use Slide Masters and Feedback Masters, let's talk about where to find them and how they actually work. When you open the View tab, you'll see that it's divided into 4 sections: Views, Grid and Guides, Zoom, and Publish. The masters we're looking for live in the Views section. You'll see 2 separate icons, one labeled Slide Master and one labeled Feedback Master. Selecting Slide Master opens the workspace for editing slide layouts, while selecting Feedback Master opens the workspace for editing feedback layouts. They look and function similarly, but they each control different parts of your course. Because the Slide Master drives the bulk of your course's layout and structure, and because there's more happening behind the scenes, we're going to start there first. After that, we'll walk through what's unique about the Feedback Master. Let's start looking at the layout of the Slide Master window. When you open the Slide Master, the first two things you'll notice are that the ribbon looks a little different from what you're used to in Slide View, and the panel on the left side of the screen has a completely different structure. Across the top, you'll now see 8 tabs in the ribbon. They are File, Slide Master, Home, Insert, Transitions, Animations, View, and Help. Even though you're designing a master slide, most of these tabs, File, Home, Insert, Transitions, Animations, View, and Help, behave the same way they do in Slide View. The main difference is the dedicated Slide Master tab. This is where you'll control the structure, placeholders, and formatting used throughout your layouts. The panel on the left shows all of the layouts included in this master. These layouts are your reusable templates. Anything you build here, background graphics, placeholder positions, branded elements, becomes available for you to use across your entire course. Now that we understand how Slide Masters and Feedback Masters can benefit both our learners and you, the developer, how to access the Slide Master and Feedback Master windows, and the basic layout of those windows, let's start talking about how to design Slide Masters and Feedback Masters. There are 5 sections in the Slide Master tab. They are Edit Master, Master Layout, Edit Theme, Background, and Close. One thing you'll notice is that this is one of the few places where you won't see the publish or preview icons. And that makes sense. Slide and Feedback Masters don't directly create actions the learner interacts with on individual slides, even though you can assign triggers to a master if you need something global. Before we start building anything, we need to define 2 key terms: master and layout. If you look at the image on the screen, you'll see a larger slide at the top marked with the number 1 and smaller slides listed below it. The large slide at the top is the master, and the smaller slides are the layouts. We also refer to the master as the parent and the layouts as the children. Whatever you design or change on the master, the parent, automatically flows down to each layout, the children. If you update the background, change the font style or size, or set a default placeholder design on the master, every layout inherits those updates. You can still personalize an individual layout when needed. Things like adding a layout-specific icon, adjusting a placeholder, or updating a background for just one style of slide. Those layout-level adjustments stay on that layout alone and won't affect the others. This parent and child setup isn't just tidy. It's a smart way to save yourself time, reduce repetitive work, and keep your entire course visually consistent without rebuilding the same elements on every single layout or slide. Let's now take a deeper look at the icons in the Slide Master tab, starting with the first 2. Insert Slide Master and Insert Layout. When you select Insert Slide Master, Storyline creates an entirely new master slide, along with a fresh set of default layouts. These defaults always include title and content, title only, question, question with media, and blank. These layouts will appear every time you create a new master, whether you're working in a brand new file or inserting an additional master into an existing project. Whenever you insert a new master, the master and all its child layouts appear directly below whichever master you currently have selected, the one highlighted in blue. And they come in as a completely blank canvas. No background graphics, no logos, no placeholders you haven't added yet. Just a clean slate using the project's default theme for fonts and styles until you customize it. Similarly, selecting Insert Layout creates a brand new layout inside the currently selected master. The new layout appears with the default name Custom, and it's based on the title-only layout. It inherits everything from its parent master, all the objects, placeholders, and formatting, but it's ready for you to personalize however you want. And remember, you don't have to keep the name Custom. You can rename a layout in 2 ways. Right-click the layout to open the pop-up menu and rename it there, or use the Rename Layout icon in the ribbon. When you have a layout selected, you'll also see options to delete or preserve that layout. A layout, or even a master, can only be deleted if no slides in your project are currently using it. Preserving a layout locks it in so it cannot be deleted, even if you have not built any slides with that layout. This is especially helpful early in a project while you're shaping your overall design. You can protect the layouts you want to keep and confidently remove the ones you don't, without worrying about accidentally deleting something you intended to use later. Let's take a quick break and talk about pugs. A pug's tail curls naturally, and a tight double curl is considered a premium trait. It's also genetically rare across all dog breeds. Pugs also have a distinctive rolling waddle when they walk, giving them a signature gait you won't see anywhere else. And for the final fun fact, a perfectly proportioned pug forms a square when viewed from the side. The height of their back matches the distance from their shoulders to their hips. The next section, Master Layout, allows you to insert placeholders into your layout. Think of a placeholder like a restaurant reservation. Instead of reserving a table, you're reserving space on your slide. Then, when you build the individual slide, that reserved space appears automatically, ready for you to drop in your content. You can see 2 content placeholders on the right side of the screen. Those are the spaces we've been using for the text you've seen throughout this video. A nice hidden perk of placeholders is that they don't force you to use them. If you leave a placeholder empty while building your slide, nothing appears in that space. The learner won't see "click to add text" or any other hint that something was meant to go in that space. One thing to remember is that this icon behaves a little differently from most others in Storyline. Icons with a small down arrow usually have a default action, like inserting the same object you used last time. The Insert Placeholder icon doesn't do that. It always opens a drop-down list with your placeholder options: content, text, picture, character, video, and web object. Most of these are straightforward. Choosing text reserves that spot for a text box, exactly like inserting one during slide development. But this text box will always appear in the same place, with the same properties anytime you use that layout. A character placeholder inserts an avatar from the content library. Just remember, if you place a character on the master layout, you won't be able to change the pose, expression, or angle on the individual slides. So use character placeholders carefully. A quick warning about web object placeholders. They display live content from an external web page. If that page goes offline or changes, the learner sees, well, nothing. Whenever possible, embed content directly into your lesson or link, only to internal company pages that you know won't vanish. If you choose content, you're reserving that space for any type of content: text, pictures, videos, characters, AI-generated images, media from the content library, or even a web object. When you insert the item on the individual slide, Storyline automatically scales it to fit the reserved space, which keeps your layout clean and consistent. The next 2 sections on the Slide Master tab's ribbon are called Edit, Theme, and Background, and this is where you shape the visual style of a specific Slide Master or layout. Earlier, we mentioned that one of the first things you should do when creating a new lesson is set up your master slides. That's almost true. The very first step should actually happen on the Design tab. The Design tab controls the course-wide theme, colors, fonts, backgrounds, and overall visual direction. Any choices you make there flow directly into the default Slide Master and its layouts. This is all about working smarter, not harder. If you adjust the theme before opening Slide Master view, you only make those decisions once, not repeatedly on every master and layout. Inside the Edit, Theme, and Background sections of the Slide Master tab, you'll see mini versions of the same tools you'd find on the Design tab. You can adjust colors, swap background styles, or update text formatting. The difference is scope. Design tab changes the look of the entire project. Edit, Theme, and Background only affects the specific Slide Master or layout you're working on. Once your course-wide theme is set in the Design tab, you can switch into the Slide Master and fine-tune individual layouts using Edit, Theme, and Background. Think of it as layering your design decisions. The Design tab establishes the foundation, and Edit, Theme, and Background let you refine the details for specific masters or layouts without affecting the entire project. So, how do we actually create a new master slide or layout? Earlier in the video, we discussed adding a completely new master slide. We placed the cursor over the area with the various master slide and layout. Right-clicked the mouse and selected Insert Slide Master. As a reminder, when Storyline generates a blank master, it automatically includes 5 layouts: title and content, title only, question, question with media, and blank. Anything you place on the master, the parent, flows down to all of its layouts, the children. That change applies only to this master, not to any other master slides in the project. Let's walk through building a new slide master together. First, we'll add a background to the parent master. In this example, we're inserting a dark blue background with teal corner triangles. Once applied, you'll immediately see the background flow down into each child layout. We're also starting with open sans for both title and body text. Title set to 32 point white and body text set to 18.5 point black. Now, let's adjust the typography. When we update the title style to articulate narrow 44 point gray, the change cascades down perfectly through all child layouts. But notice the body text doesn't fully follow the update. The font and size change to articulate narrow 24 point, but the color remains black. This is normal. Not every formatting change consistently passes down to every layout. Even though we don't want slide numbers visible to learners, adding them is a lifesaver during SME and peer review. From the Insert tab, we select Insert Page Number, choose the style we want, and reposition it on the master. Storyline displays a beige number sign placeholder while editing, but rest assured, learners will only see the page number, not the beige background. Now, let's create a brand new layout. We'll duplicate the blank layout and then customize it. We'll insert 2 content placeholders and a slide title text box at the bottom of the slide. Remember, the Insert Placeholder icon lives on the Slide Master tab, not the Insert tab. Once we switch back into normal slide view later, you'll see the page number at the top right, the 2 content placeholders, and the title placeholder, all ready for you to populate with actual content. The last thing we need to talk about with slide masters and layouts is how you actually use them when you're building your lesson. After all, if you've spent the time creating a layout, you want to put it to work. The whole point of using slide masters is to save time, not build something beautiful and then forget it exists. You'll use the Slides section on the Home tab to apply these layouts while developing your course. If you select the new slide icon directly, Storyline will insert a new slide using the same layout as the slide you currently have selected. But if you select the down arrow, you'll open a drop-down menu. Here, you can see every master and layout available in your project. From there, you can choose the exact layout you want, and Storyline will drop it into your lesson as the next slide. But what if you've already started building a slide, and halfway through, you realize the layout isn't working for what you need? That's where Apply Layout comes in. The Apply Layout button also has a drop-down arrow, but you don't need to target it precisely. Selecting anywhere on the icon will open the same pop-up window of all available layouts. Simply pick the layout you want, and Storyline will reflow your content into the new structure. A quick word of caution: each layout is unique, so when Storyline reflows content, some objects may shift, resize, or land in front of or behind other objects. That's normal. It's Storyline doing its best to follow the new layout's rules. Just double-check the slide afterward to make sure everything looks the way you intend. One final note about master slides and layouts before we move on. You aren't limited to placeholders and background images on your masters. You can also build reusable functionality into them. Here are 3 examples of what you can build directly on the master. Triggers that fire automatically whenever a slide uses that layout. For example, if you always want slide audio to stop when the timeline starts, you can put that trigger on the master. Every slide using that layout inherits the behavior. Media placed on the layout's timeline. This could be background music, ambient audio, or a visual element that animates across all slides using that layout, without having to recreate it each time. Default interactive elements. You can preload things like a custom next button, an instruction icon, or branded navigation elements so every slide that uses that layout starts with the assets already in place. These options give you a powerful way to standardize your design and automate the repetitive work that eats up hours in large projects. Now that we understand why we use slide masters and feedback masters, let's talk about where to find them and how they actually work. When you open the View tab, you'll see that it's divided into 4 sections: Views, Grid and Guides, Zoom, and Publish. The masters we're looking for live in the Views section. You'll see 2 separate icons, one labeled Slide Master and one labeled Feedback Master. Selecting Slide Master opens the workspace for editing slide layouts, while selecting Feedback Master opens the workspace for editing feedback layouts. They look and function similarly, but they each control different parts of your course. Because the Slide Master drives the bulk of your course's layout and structure, and because there's more happening behind the scenes, we're going to start there first. After that, we'll walk through what's unique about the Feedback Master. Thank you for spending the last few minutes and for watching this week's video helping you to learn articulate storyline. We hope you found it useful and valuable. If you did, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. If there is something about storyline you want to learn more about, please let us know in the comments. The Pug Grumble says, "Thank you and have a great day."